Hello and welcome again to Crazy Math Productions. Today we're going to look at solving compound inequalities in one variable. So let's go through. Conjunction is another word for, in this case, in the context, conjunction and are the same thing. They're the intersection. Now I like to combine the and the con and talk about Conan the Barbarian. I'm familiar with Conan the Barbarian, so this is con and conjunction and the barbarian. Also, disjunction is like an or statement, so I like to combine the die in disjunction and the or and make a die or ama. I don't know if you remember in elementary school, you used to make a diorama of the planets, excuse me, and you would hang the little planets and make a little diorama. Anyway, okay. So the idea is that and both must be true at the same time. Or statements, either one works. Doesn't matter. Okay, so our conjunctions. You notice x is less than 7, x is greater than 2, and at the same time. What you're doing is, if you could layer if you could take this and literally put it on top of this one, what you're looking for is, where is it in common? Where does it happen at the same time? And you notice this is where it happens at the same time. So this is your final graph. Whereas for an or statement, you're looking for wherever it happens to be graphed, either one. And you notice here we just bring down, here we just bring down, so it gives us our final answer. So that's the difference in the and or the or statement. The and statement, it must be happening at the same time, whereas your or statement, either one, it can work. Now, students in the past have liked to, if you will, sort of do their thumbs. My beautiful picture of a thumb here. Wow. Poor guy had a hard time with his thumb. Whoops. I broke his hand. Okay. So you'll notice this is an and statement, and this is an or statement. Now, what students will do is they'll move their thumbs around, and it makes a little or, like a little rowboat. So if you can imagine the little thumbs moving, that makes a little rowboat. That's what an or statement would look like. You can kind of picture, if you will, a little rowboat here, and these are the oars in the rowboat. And of course, it's an or statement. So anyway, just something to kind of help you to visualize which one. Also, you could think of this is Conan the Barbarian with this little spear. So there's Conan's spear. Anyway, or for the boat, and Conan the Barbarian. Let's look at actually working on some of these. Solve and graph. Okay, now when we see an and statement here, notice this is sort of sandwiched together. This one is not sandwiched together. Well, when you see an and, you can make an and which, like a sandwich, but with and in between. Not exactly sure how and would taste, but I'm sure it'd make a delicious sandwich. Anyway, you can't make an or which. That's just ridiculous. But we can make an and which. So we're going to make an and which. What you do is you put the x's right next to each other. And literally, oops, well, excuse me. There we go. And literally sandwich them together. Now, you can't do that with an or. There's no or which. You can't stick them together. But with an and, you are able to make that compound statement. So we have solved. Now, Conan the Barbarian, you can imagine Conan with his mighty spear. So it's going to, basically, you're going to have either an open or a closed circle, depending on whether you have the or equal to. Here we have, we don't have the or equal to, so that's going to be an open statement. There is mighty Conan. Since we don't have the or equal to, there's going to be an open. So that's what we're going to see. So -3, oops, excuse me. We're going to have -3 and +4. And we're going to have open circles. Again, remember, if you follow Crazy Math Productions, we said that these two, that's the wrinkled old man, he knows how to keep his mouth shut. And the young man, he usually opens his mouth and says many unwise things. Let's put it that way. Now, Conan the Barbarian, you can see his mighty spear here, Conan. So we always shade between on an and statement with Conan, conjunction, and. All right, here we go. It's already sandwiched together. And we have -2, +4. Now, you notice one side is going to be an open, and the other side is going to be closed. Remember, this is the wrinkled old man. He keeps his mouth shut. This is the young man, and he opens his mouth and says unwise things. Now, remember mighty Conan with his spear, so it's going to be speared together here, sandwiched. Number 3, now you'll notice that we don't have it sandwiched like we do here. We're going to have to solve this part first. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. If x is greater than or equal to -2, and x is less than 7. And for this to work, we have to have the x's together. So I'm going to switch this around. -2 is less than or equal to x, and x is less than 7. So we're going to sandwich them together, and we're ready for Conan and his mighty spear of mathematics here. Old man keeps his mouth shut. Young man keeps his mouth open. Says many unwise things. Conan and his mighty spear. And there we go. Now, you notice that this is an and which, if you will. We're going to have to do things not to just 2 parts, but to all 3. So whatever we do in one location, we're going to have to do in all 3 simultaneously. We're going to add 6 first. That would be -12 is less than 3x is less than 3. We're going to divide by 3 in all 3 simultaneous locations. Okay, and we're ready for Conan and his mighty spear of mathematics here. This is going to be open circles. All right, -4 and +1. Now remember, young man does not have the wrinkles. It's going to be an open circle here, an open point. And Conan and his mighty spear, we're going to be shaded that way. It's an and statement. Conan, conjunction, and statement. Okay, and now we're going to do the or, the diorama disjunction or statement. And remember, or we're looking at our mighty rowboat here. Like we might even have Conan in his mighty rowboat, but not right now. We've got our rowboat, and we have the oars coming out on either side of the rowboat. So here we go. We cannot make an and which. We don't put them together. They must stay separate for or statements. And of course, an or which just does not make sense. All right, we're going to graph -1, +4. Now, here's a wrinkled old man. He's gonna keep his mouth shut because he is wise. Here is a foolish young man. He is going to keep his mouth wide open, say many unwise things. And this is an or statement, so you can envision here's the boat, and the oars are coming out in the opposite directions here. Moving on. This or has not been solved. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. X is less than or equal to +3, or X is greater than or equal to 5. So now we're going to plot 3 and 5. We're going to figure out, let's see, this is the wrinkled old man. He keeps his mouth shut because he is wise. And picture the rowboat. The oars would come out this way from our rowboat. Again, number 3, we're going to have to solve each part of our rowboat in the or statement here. Remember, diorama, disjunction, or statement. So we're going to add 6. -2x is greater than 10. Divide by -2. Whoa, what happens? Be careful. Remember, if you followed Crazy Math Productions, when you divide by a negative, you have to switch the sign. Also, we're going to subtract by 5. Notice I didn't, whoa, what happened? That's because we're subtracting. We're not dividing by negative. This doesn't count, so we keep it as is. This is an or statement. X is less than -5, or X is greater than -3. And here we go. We have -5, +3. Foolish young man keeps his mouth open. Foolish young man keeps his mouth open. And now we've got a rowboat. We're going to put the oars out, of course, to the sides. Don't want to row in the boat. That would not make sense. There's Conan over here. All right, so we're going to solve each part. I'm going to subtract 2. We're going to divide by -5. Whoa, what happens? Here we go. X is less than -5. We have to switch because we divided both sides by a negative. And we're going to solve this part as well. Oops. Going to add 3 to both sides. X is greater than 5. This is an or statement. We're going to get our rowboat with its oars. We have -5 and +5. Foolish young man keeps his mouth open. Foolish young man, mouth open. We're going to get a rowboat with the oars, and the oars will, of course, come to the side of that rowboat. And that does it today for Crazy Math Productions. Just to keep a few things in mind, remember, the old man, there's little wrinkles there, keeps his mouth shut. The young man keeps his mouth open. Conan the barbarian here has his mighty spear. A conjunction is an and statement, and they shade between the 2 points, the 2 circles. For a disjunction, it's an or statement, your diorama, and we look at a rowboat. So in your rowboat, they're going to have the oars to the side. Remember that for an and which, we can stick the 2 together. You notice that we had these separate, but we put them together in an and which. There's no or which. You cannot combine these statements together. Thank you so much, and appreciate you listening to Crazy Math Productions.